The valley of despair has taken over. He's crying on the hillside and he's seeing and he doesn't know what to do. And even starting at the first verse, it says, I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod of his wrath. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Indeed, he has turned his hand again against me again and again all day long. He is lamenting. He is complaining to God by giving it to God and telling God, I'm upset that I had to go through this, that you had to pull me through this, that I said all this stuff and I've been through all this stuff and I look and I see that my city is not even been saved. Why are you taking me through this? Have you ever been to the point in life where you just looked at God and said, God, why are you putting me through this? Have you ever talked to God and asked God, God, why are you allowing this to happen to me? You afflicted me again and again all day long. I've dealt with this for 40 years, and now my skin and my flesh grow old, and has broken my bones, and besieged me, and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. You have made me to dwell in darkness like those long dead. He's walled up in me so I cannot escape. He's weighed me down with chains, and even when I call out and cry for help, it seems like God just shuts up. Doesn't even seem like he hears my prayers. I'm just reading what he says, and he's writing this because that's how he's feeling. And what a lament is your opportunity to tell God how you feel, and to tell him how you're feeling with all of your emotions, with all that you got, and even if you're mad at him, even if you're angry at him, God says, I have given you the right to be angry and to say it to me, because by the time you'll finish it, get it out of you, I'll be able to change that anger into joy. I'll be able to change that situation into hope. So sometimes it's all right to do what Jeremiah did. See, what we do, we hold it all in. We try to be super Christian. Hallelujah. Oh, it's fine. Come on now. Sometimes it ain't fine. I'm blessed by the best. Yeah, you're blessed by the best, but sometimes you don't feel blessed. And you got a God. You said, we ain't talking about other Christians who really don't want to hear your story. We're talking about God, who already knows that in the inside you're mad anyhow. So when you come to God and say, I'm blessed by the best, thank you all. God looking at you like you're crazy. Because he already knows what's in your heart. He already knows what's in your mind. He already knows what's in your spirit. He already knows. And since he already knows, you may as well be straight up with God. God, I'm mad. Every time I turn around, it seems like nothing but problems all around me. Every time I reach in my pocket, there's no money in my pocket. Every time I try to get some clothes on my back, I can't seem to be able to get any clothes. Every time I try to find a safe place to live, somebody comes along and makes it dangerous. I'm upset, God. I need you, God, but I'm upset, God. And during the Christian season, it's all right to sit down with God and say, I'm just mad, God. I'm mad because the person I love is not here anymore. I'm mad because my mama ain't here. I'm mad because my daddy ain't here. I'm mad because they didn't do me right. I'm mad. God, I never had a happy holiday. I never had a happy situation. I didn't get any Christmas toys. I didn't get any Christmas tree. I didn't remember Thanksgiving with all the fixings. I didn't have that in my life. God, I'm mad. Man. This is what Jeremiah, a prophet, was doing. He was saying, God, I'm mad. Barred me away my way to the box of stone. He made my path crooked. Now he said, look, I didn't walk crooked. God, you made my path crooked. Lord, don't take that as that what God does. That's Jeremiah talking about how he feels.
Yes, sir.
That's not what God does. That's just him talking about how he feels. You got to understand, when you read in the Bible, that the Bible is about truth, but everything in the Bible is not true.
Come on, Pastor.
Sometimes the Bible is just expressing how somebody felt. That doesn't mean that that's how you're supposed to take that as a principle. God blocking my path. No, I'm not saying you necessarily take that as a principle, but understand, this is Jeremiah just saying how he felt. He didn't say he was right. I just said this is how he felt. And you have the right to be able, because God loves you so, because God cares for you so, because God is on your side, but God will never leave you or forsake you. He will be with you to the end of the earth. God loves you. It's all right to tell God, I don't like this mess. Seems like you like a bear lying in wait, like a lion in honey. He drags me from the path. He mangles me. He left me without help. He drew his bow. He made me the target of his arrow. Oh, Jeremiah's tripping here. He's tripping. He's tripping. And sometimes the valley is so desperate and so full of despair that you'll be tripping sometimes off of what you say to God. Sometimes it's so full of stuff and darkness that you sometimes are saying and thinking stuff that you shouldn't be thinking. But God is the one that can handle it. Don't go tell it to your friend. Don't go tell it to your neighbor. Don't go tell it to somebody who don't know how to handle the moment that you acting crazy. But when God comes to you, if you go to God, even with your craziness, God will heal your cry. He will heal your concern. He will straighten up your heart. He will straighten up your life. Like I said, sometimes it's just crazy. You trying to go to the deacon of the church or the pastor of the church. You need to go to God. Because the deacon right there, you like, that's crazy. You know, I mean, not the Lord, the pastor may look at you like, oh, Jesus. You know, not knowing that you're just in the valley right now and stuff looks crazy to you while you're in the valley. Some stuff that seems logical to you in the valley, it's really crazy, but you're so full of despair, you end up saying and doing stuff that you really don't mean. And if you say and do stuff that you really don't mean to people who can't handle it, they get a picture of you that's not the true picture, because you're just living in the valley at that moment. That's why you got to talk so much about that prayer life. It's your prayer life. It's your prayer life. Because some people can't handle your crazy stuff while you're in the valley. Lord have mercy. He can handle it. He pierced my heart with arrows. He made his quiver. I became a laughing stock of all my people. They mocked me in song all day long. That's true. That part was true. Because he was talking about over and over that Jerusalem was going to fall. The people laughed at him. For 40 years, he dealt with people laughing at him. And he's saying, after all that Jerusalem fell anyway? You know, you made me a laughing stock? You gave me a ministry that they didn't applaud me, they laughed at me. And for 40 years, I was laughed at, and the only thing I'm getting out of this thing is to watch the city I love be burned anyway? Come on, somebody. Y'all know what I was getting ready to say now. But I'm going to tell you that even God can handle that. Because he would rather you be real with him than be fake with him. He'd rather you tell exactly how you felt instead of how you feel. He would rather you say exactly what you thought instead of hide behind some pretty stuff that Christians do. I didn't keep it on. Lord have mercy. That's what a lament is. He has filled me with bitter herbs. He stated me with gall. He has broken my teeth with gravel. He's trampled me in the dust. He was trampled, by the way, too. As he was dragged in the street, he was stomped on. So that part was true. That happened to him. I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. Y'all here on the street like this? I could have been living up in the palace. And for the last 40 years, I could have been living in the palace. I could have been enjoying myself and just knew that the day was going to come when it was all going to be over. But at least I could have 40 years of prosperity. I could at least have 40 years of living good. Instead of being dragged in the street and being trampled on and living broke all my life, for what? Real football players say, for who, for what? Listen, I'm getting this Jeremiah talking. See, you see 20 verses of this. My splendor is gone. All that I had hoped from the Lord. I remember my afflictions, my wanderness, my bitterness, and my gall. Then he finally says, I remember. And my soul is downcast within me. I'm depressed. I'm messed up. Sometimes you got to say you're depressed. Yes. Just get to the point. Now, I'm not talking about clinical depression. Some of us experience clinical depression. That's where there's some bodily functions that are not right, and there's some medicine that you might have to take for that. I'm just talking about the everyday kind of a person who has to deal with the fact that sometimes in life you are depressed. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. And so you just need to call him. That's what he says. My soul is downcast. I'm depressed. What's all this about? And then in verse 21, is almost at that moment where he's, the other verses, he's just angry. He's spouting stuff. And after a while, he's run out of stuff to spout. And he just, take this. Come on now, you've been there. You might need more than 20 verses, and you might need a couple, 3, 4, 5 hours. But you ever been around sometimes when you get a friend who has to get stuff out of them, and they just spout something, can't stand. And they name it every person they don't like, every person they don't want to be around. And he get on my last nerve, look what he did, look what she did, and they go on and on and on and on and on. And then at some point, they just stop. Because they just had to get all that mess out of them. And they realized, my soul is downcast. I'm just sad. It ain't about what you did, God, or about what somebody else did, about the old people over there. I'm just sad. Yes, it's all right. They come to the end of themselves. They come where they just can't do it no more. They're at the point where they can open to complete surrender. They said, I can't do nothing about this situation. My soul is downcast. I can't do it. I can't make it. I can't do it. I can't make it. I need the Lord. And so every turn to verse 21, and he just comes to himself. He just comes to the realization that there's nowhere for me to go. There's nowhere for me to run. There's nowhere for me to hide. I'm mad at God, but I can't. I did all this stuff happen. I know. But still, all I got is him. I ain't got anybody else. I can't turn anywhere else. I can't go anywhere else. I can't look anywhere else but to him. Nobody else can save me. No one else can provide for me. No one else can make a way out of no way for me. Nobody else can give me joy in my life and give me peace in my life. No one else can do it but God. And so even though I'm mad at him, even though I'm angry at him, I can't stay this way because he's the only one that can save my life. He's the only one that can make a way for me. He's the only one that can give me See, those who commit suicide, they might get to this point and they don't have something to remember. And they say, well, why am I even living? But when those people of God go through the valley of despair, go through the valley of depression, there is still something you can remember. There's still something you can call on. There is still something that can happen to you. There's still some salvation available to you. There's still some deliverance available to you. There's still some healing available to you. There's still some hope. There's still some joy. There's still some love. There's still some peace. There's still some power. There's still some grace. There's still some mercy. There's still some goodness. There's still some love. There's still some joy. There's still something, someone that's available to you. Yet I remember. Yet I call to mind. And therefore I have hope. I have a confident expectation. Therefore I call to mind something greater than myself. Therefore I call to mind a power that comes from within. Therefore I call to mind a God that looks high and looks low. That God that loves me so. That made the mountains and made the valleys and made the seas and made the rivers and made the ocean. I still got a God that got that kind of power. I just remember. Oh, here. See, when you get to the point of despair, when you're in the middle of your valley, you got to recall. You got to call God. The same one you complain about is the same one that can save your soul. The same one that you're mad at is the same one that can give you joy. The same one that you've been cussing out, Lord have mercy, is the same one that can lift you up, pick you up, turn you around, place your feet on solid ground. It's the same Lord. Now I'm going to close on these points. So what does he say? He said, why? When I remember the Lord's great love, because of his love, we are not consumed. Wait a minute. He looked at Jerusalem and saw it burnt away. But he remembers that his people were still present in Jerusalem. And there was a remnant of people that went with Babylon, but they would come back. So he looked and saw that his people, even though the city was destroyed, his people had survived. And he turned and he thought, he said, wait a minute, that's right. Even though it looks like we're down now, but his great love, because of his great love, he didn't consume us. He didn't destroy us. He didn't eliminate us because he loved us so. And he had plenty of reason to eliminate us if he wanted to, because we committed sin and sin and sin again against him, and the wages of sin is death. He could have put a conviction upon us. He could have told us because we have sinned, we needed to be consumed. But because he loves us so much, he loves us so much, he decided to take the city and let us live. He decided to take the city and let us live. He decided to take the city and let us still live. We weren't consumed. We weren't consumed. You can look at your life sometimes and say, wait a minute, I went through hell and hot water and back again. Didn't have any money yesterday. Don't have none today. Don't have none for tomorrow. But still, I'm still right here. you.